Hey there everybody, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today is probably the most special one-man review I've ever done because today I'm going to be looking at a zine made by Living the Line himself, Mr. Sean Michael Robinson. Sean sent this along to me with a couple of the other new Living the Line books that are out. Her Frankenstein and Thiku. And Sean included this because he's been printing this zine out and selling it, taking it to conventions and selling it because he wanted to have something that's like cheaper and easier to sell at the Living the Line booth, because Living the Line books are, you know, always like these hardcover books or whatever, so they're a little expensive, and he wanted to have something to hand out. This is an old 24-hour comic that Sean did. I'm not sure. Oh, he did it on October 2nd, 2010 to October 3rd, 2010. So, and it's called Guts, a Young Adult Television Fiasco. Sean has some funny quotes on the inside here. And then he said, printed in the United States in my office. So this is really a zine. This is just being printed off of Sean's home printer in his home office and putting this together. And I think that's fun, since so much of what Living the Line does is all about this like really high quality offset lithography that Sean's doing, like really high quality inkjet printer comics as well. This is a fun story. I think Sean has probably told it on the channel before, but it's him reflecting on the fact that he competed in Nickelodeon's Guts when he was a kid. He says, I heard about the auditions the summer before 6th grade, and this was like a new show. No one knew what it was. I think he's in the first 5 episodes or so, and it really is an experience that seems like seminal in Sean's life. The book, I think, overplays to some extent for comedic effect, like how distressing it was, but also gets across that this was something that Sean had to deal with, that kind of helped form his personality for a while, I think, maybe. So he's basically going to Guts and competing. He's talking about the other 2 competitors he has, Reagan and Araceli. So Sean was up against 2 girls. And you get a lot of fun, like, behind the scene details of how one of these shows actually worked. He's talking about, like, they were filming multiple episodes at the same time. Theirs was only the 5th episode to be produced, so there was still a lot of problems that they were working out live on the set. They were recording another episode on the same day, so it's like all chopped up and a lot of waiting periods. And there's also technical problems, so Sean's complaining on the basketball jump. He had a hard time because the harness was specifically calibrated to deliver shooting pain through my crotch and my limbs. And he often felt like, you know, he was like, yeah, just being hurt. There's a pretty typical art of Sean. I mean, he's much better now, some 13 odd years later, but you get this big brushy line work. Sean has a really calligraphic kind of watercolor approach to inking. You get some of the nice washes and then the fine line work put in and around that. If you want to see like Sean as a cartoonist developing, this is a cool thing to try and get a copy of, because what you'll see when he finally puts out his book, Discards, you'll see the evolution of this style. There's some things that you just have to laugh at. When I first found out about this, obviously me and Tori went and found the actual episode, and so we've watched this episode. You can kind of hunt it down on the internet. It's not super easy to get, but you can find it. Sean is Sean the Rebel Robinson, age 12, likes to read, draws in his free time, once wore a dress in front of his entire class. And that is the graphics that they put up. You see the next competition. Sean's keeping track of the score throughout here. There's another equipment failure where the mat that's supposed to catch him pushes him off the back and almost kills him. So there's all of these things where poor Sean just went through this really awful day. And there's these just really sad things in here. And I feel once again the inevitability of my failure. So it seems like Sean's really like overselling in the language to make this as like depressing and pathetic as like he wants to present it as. that he winds up losing to 2 girls. Spoiler alert. But he's talking about that, you know, that he lost to 2 girls and that followed him. Here he says, in my memory, the ubiquitous harness supposed to provide support is pulling on me constantly, preventing me from moving forward, sometimes yanking me back. So a suggestion that maybe the outcomes were predetermined a little bit, that there was extra battles these kids were fighting against that you didn't see. Then he talks about, like, in getting 3rd place, he had to stand there and watch these other 2 girls. You know, I remember standing at the podium trying not to show any feeling at all. And then once the show aired for the first time, he obviously got made fun of a lot at school. Like, oh, the rebel, you lost 2 girls. Apparently, some of the bullying that he experienced included a lunchtime jam comic that involved having to build a penis out of parts from a junkyard. And then also saying, like, he thought this would fade away, but they kept re-airing the episodes. So this moment that was like a stressful moment keeps being brought back up and kept the teasing alive. So it's a really interesting study of like what actually it was like to be a kid on one of those shows that is a nostalgia for so many of us. I know I didn't even have a TV, and I remember sitting there watching Guts and thinking, oh my God, that would be so much fun. I want to go do that. Or there was the other one where they'd make it look like you're in the video game. All of those different Nickelodeon shows, I remember thinking they looked like so much fun. So throughout this, Sean's giving you a lot of behind-the-scene details. There's like some bitter romantic things in here. Again, I think played up to comedic effect. But there's a lot else, there's a lot of other stuff in here that I haven't covered. So if you ever find yourself at a convention, go up to the Living the Line there, go up to the table and make sure you get a copy of Nickelodeon Guts, a young adult television fiasco. I'm not sure that Sean is even selling these on the website, but maybe. So this is really fun, something that, like, as I'm building my friendship with Sean, you know, it's just learning more about a friend. And now you all can learn about the publisher, the owner, the man himself, Sean Michael Robinson. Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. This is translated by Ryan Holmberg and is very large for a manga. So that's a really cool feature of this book, this standard manga size. And this is just a 200 some odd page representation of what Yokoyama Yuichi thinks of the Carnival Parade. And he's just made this like relentlessly loud and rhythmic book that pushes all kinds of amazing boundaries of what comics and manga are. And we could not recommend this book more.